Wolverine is a popular Marvel character, there's no doubt about that. And with popularity often comes many different story arcs, different appearances in various titles, and a lot of different creative teams helming narratives based on said character. In Wolverine's case, the Marvel mutant has experienced many a makeover in his time, whether that comes in the form of alternate Earth versions of Logan, or his main continuity 616 costume. Those aesthetic changes are ones that have mesmerized us, intrigued us, and have gotten us giddy about reading Wolverine's stories again and again and again. So today we are taking a closer look at the changes his costume has endured over the years with our list of the top 10 alternate Wolverine suits. Starting us off in at number 10, the Tiger Stripe. Let's start off our list with the OG Wolverine suit. His first appearance outfit, the original Tiger Stripe costume, also known as the original yellow and blue. This appeared in 1974 in the Incredible Hulk issue 180 when he first debuted, clashing with the Hulk initially, but then working with the big green monster to take out a Wendigo. This tiger suit is more animalistic than some of the other variations, thanks to his cowl's cat-like aesthetic and detail. Look at those whiskers. His eyes are visible too, and his cowl points are less prominent. This brief story arc is the only time that we see him don this costume though, because when he appeared next in Giant Size X-Men, his whiskers were ditched, and a more subtly aggressive aesthetic was weaved into the costume. Moving on to number 9, Age of Apocalypse Logan. From Earth 295, this suit is Wolverine's outfit during the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Or should we say Weapon X, which is his name on this Earth. Anyway, Weapon X wears a blue costume with red tiger stripes. The character is missing a hand, thanks to an evil Cyclops, and has a metal gauntlet sans hand on his left arm, with his claws protruding out of it in some depictions. He also wears matching face paint. It's a look. After the main Age of Apocalypse story arc ended, later on down the line, Marvel decided to explore the timeline further, creating a new slew of stories, one of which involved Weapon X becoming Weapon Omega, the heir to Apocalypse. He got a shiny new armor-inspired suit that felt much more sinister than his original blue and red striped outfit. Up next, number 8, the Days of Future Past Logan. This one feels less costume, more civilian, but it's still pretty awesome. It's a flight jacket with yellow gloves and matching brown pants. This Wolverine captures that gruff, iconic look of his that is translated in many an adaptation of the character, including cinematic ones, but more on that later. This is the Days of Future Past timeline, also known as Earth 811, a future dystopian where mutants are incarcerated in internment camps, with the plot mainly following an adult Catherine Pryde transferring her mind into her younger present-day self in order to prevent a fatal moment in the timeline from occurring that would trigger the anti-mutant hysteria. Wolverine's outfit is very on the run, not drawing attention to himself like some of his other iconic looks. Despite this, it's an outfit that we kind of want to own ourselves. In at number 7, X-23 Wolverine. Laura Kinney, aka X-23, has taken up the mantle of her adoptive father in the past, so of course she has to have a correct suit to follow, despite having a very different style than her adoptive daddy Dearest, in terms of fighting. This costume takes inspiration from both the tiger stripe design he's boasted variations of over the years, and from his Astonishing Wolverine outfit. It's a slightly darker tone of blue, borrowing a red and black chunky X-Men belt a la Uncanny training uniform, more on that one later, but is still familiar enough that we recognize her as Wolverine. And at number 6, Powerless Wolverine. Once upon a time, Logan lost his powers, and because of this, he had to be extra cautious. He had a suit to better protect him now that he was without his healing factor. It's a heavy-duty armor, yellow with a big black ol' X down the front, and is one of the more intensely padded outfits that he's donned. In addition to the extra armor protection, the suit also came equipped with wrist braces that had 3 claws mounted to them that he could pop out and use in battle. Good way to compensate for a hot second, we suppose. Up next, number 5, the training uniform from Uncanny X-Men. The X-Men training uniform that appears in the Uncanny X-Men series is so freaking cool. It's undeniable. And like many of the other looks that Wolvie is serving on this list, it's pretty darn iconic. This is also a look that inspired a lot of other looks in spin-off media. For example, Morph in the X-Men the Animated Series. And it's a costume that other X-Men later adopted as their own uniforms, like Forge and Banshee. Wolverine himself didn't seem to love it, wearing it barely once before putting it away forever. But damn, it looked good on him. Moving on to number 4, the Hugh Jackman Wolverine. What would our list be without taking some time to look at the costumes worn by Hugh Jackman in Fox's cinematic adaptations of the X-Men? While some of Jackman's Wolverine wardrobe has been more missed than hit, there has been plenty of hits over the years. There's the awesome leather X-Men uniform suits that appeared in both the first and second Fox X-Men films, although we'd have to argue that the second is our favorite. There's the leather jacket Wolverine from X-Men Origins Wolverine that didn't quite make up for how bad the film was, but he still rocked it well. And let's not forget, no one has ever made a white tank top and jeans look more heroic. Plus, there's plenty of variations of that. Shirtless Wolverine running around in a pair of jeans while pulling off those classic poses of his, showing off those pecs and abs. Yeah. But don't get us started on the unused suit that appeared in the briefcase at the end of the Wolverine film. We're still salty about the fact that it never really came out of that case. It could have been so good. Moving on to number 3, Astonishing Wolverine. The Astonishing Wolverine uniform felt a little bit like a victory for fans back in 2004. Now, for a while, there was a phase where Wolverine wore a lot of black leather. This was a costume comeback, people. The reason why it's adored by so many fans over some of the other similar iterations of this yellow and black costume is that many of the more sharp or eccentric features of the suit were smoothed out. There's less jagged tiger stripes, the costume is working with thicker lines and an emphasis on perfect symmetry, and Wolverine's cowl was a little less pointed. It felt a tad more polished than other versions that we had seen in the late 70s and late 90s, and it felt wonderfully cohesive with the similar costumes his fellow X-Men had. Cohesive, but distinct in its own way. And at number 2, red and brown. The red and brown Wolverine costume is one of Logan's most prominent and well-remembered suits. Or is it tan and yellow? Oh, the questions. Now its popularity is thanks to it being one of his longest worn and consistent suits, enduring throughout the 1980s and the 1990s. This was a product of John Byrne's doing, who wanted to change the character's look and got to do so in Uncanny X-Men issue 139, which, fun fact, was also the debut of Kitty Pryde. The shoulder pads were ditched and the tiger stripes were gone. It's a costume Wolverine returned to during Wolverine Origins, the comic, and when he was brought back from the dead in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5. Good old reliable. But not as reliable as our next number. In at number 1, the classic yellow, black, and blue. The classic yellow, black, and blue Wolverine suit is arguably the one that we're all the most familiar with. Commonly referred to as classic yellow and blue, Logan has worn it for over 40 years. It's the definition of iconic, really. Remember how we said that Wolverine's whiskers were ditched when the character was introduced into Giant Size X-Men issue 1? Well, that's actually thanks to artist Gil Kane drawing Wolverine's mask incorrectly on the cover of this issue, giving him this look. Something that was criticized as being a Batman-like aesthetic thanks to the pointed cowl. But because artist Dave Cockrum loved the cover Kane did so much, he actually redrew the pages of Giant Size X-Men in order to match. And it's stuck ever since. Wolverine took a break from this costume during the 80s and 90s thanks to our previous number, but would return to it after learning his memories had been tampered with, as part of a visual declaration that he wasn't an animal, but an X-Man. A suit says a lot about the man or woman underneath it, people. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other suits of Wolverine's do you dig? Let us know in those comments below. And if you dug this video, why not spread that love? Hit that like button, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this. In the meantime, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.